What's up with y'all? Hopefully this video finds you in good spirits, and if not, well, at least you not DSP. And what we have here is Phil's so-called WWE Champion's confession. And I wanted to go over this because this shows the depths of his deception. These are carefully selected, curated lies. So for my people out there that are into Batman, this is Phil with prep time. Let's get into it.
Urban style individual. No matter what I tell you, all right, they're going to say I lied. They're going to say this is bullshit, right? And so this is only for those who actually are capable of like rational thought and considering the truth and things like that, okay?
Now you see how he already had to put a disclaimer out there. What he's essentially saying is, if you don't believe this, then something's wrong with you. Even though this guy is a bona fide liar and is known for lying. Phil's brain is crazy.
All right. You already know I have a history of spending money on mobile games. I've already admitted it, okay? Everything that I said in that segment on stream was a lie. Literally, every time someone asked me about WWE champions, I lied. Every single fucking time. Because to me, my personal spending, things I was doing off stream, was no one's business.
That's nonsense. You hid it because you were ashamed of it. Period. It wasn't until PPP entered into your life that you somehow shook the shackles of shame that came with your addiction and told yourself that it was okay because it was quote unquote your money.
Okay? And every time someone brought it up, I'm like, this is so stupid. This is dumb. You know what I'm saying? And I just lied to get it out of the way. And I tried so hard for so long to lie about it, to get people to just forget about it. But I forgot, well, not really forgot, but I definitely underestimated the anal nature of these people who stalk me. All right?
No, what you did is underestimate people's resolve and their tenacity when pursuing the truth. That's what you did.
A couple things they outright got me on, like, for example, the Discord thing. I had no idea about any of that. I was incredibly ignorant, okay, of all of it. I didn't know any of that shit. So I had no clue that they could, like, track a Discord versus, like, numbers on your name and shit like that. So, you know, for me, here's the thing. You really, if you're a person who's coming to my stream and you just want to watch the content and have fun, do you want to hear about this shit? My fans did not care about me playing WWE Champions. My fans did not care about any of that shit. All right?
So if your fans did not care, why were you not open about it? Why were you couching what you were doing with other things? Meaning, I need this money to pay my bills, when all the while you were using it for your gambling addiction. Why didn't you outright tell them, look, I need tips today instead of super chats because I want to play WWE Champions the second this stream goes offline? Why didn't you just say that if they didn't care? Come on, man.
When I was doing a fundraiser for a week to pay taxes, yeah, that's literally what it was. Yeah, there was some misspeaking and things over time about exactly directly where the money was going, but it was because I was kind of desperate for that week, you know. But
you hear what he said? He was misspeaking. No, Phil, you were lying. See, this is the problem that people have with you. You have an inability to be forthright, even when it's something that's obvious.
The WWE Champions thing, 100%. Again, I just always lied about it because I thought it wasn't important. It was just something that my detractors were trying to do. Because again, they tried to get me time and time again over the years, so many times for stupid shit that wasn't true. They had finally found one stupid little thing that they got me on, right?
But Phil, this is the part that you're missing. It's not a stupid little thing. It's literally defined the course of your entire adult life.
So I'm going to tell you this, the truth now. But again, many of you are not going to believe it. I can't make you believe it. And I'm going to open up for the first time about this topic ever right now here tonight. And some of you, if this is it for you and you can't take it and you want to leave and you're not going to come back, I can't stop you.
Now, I want y'all to pay attention to his body language. He's shaking like a damn leaf. His eyes are darting all over the place, and he also looks like he's hot. This is that anxiety that's fucking with him underneath this layer that he's trying to portray to you.
All right, I can't. But for those who've been here through this journey with me, my 16 years as a content creator, this crazy month I just had of resurgence, I would hope that the things that people have been saying to me are true, that you don't care about my past and the shit that I was doing, that was stupid and bad, because I admit it was stupid and bad, okay? All right, so.
Yes, but you admitting something in and of itself is not enough for recompense, Phil. That's not how that works. That's not how things are made whole. If you create a violation, you have to do something to make it as if it never happened. So if you did something and went to court and said, yeah, I did it, they're not going to just let you go home. There's still going to be a punishment.
Ready? Admission number 1. Yes, the They Call Me DSP account in WWE Champions is my account. Okay? That's admission number 1. It is. It always was. Okay? Now, it was very stupid of me to name it They Call Me DSP. You might say, why was he so dumb to name that account that? Because when I opened it in 2017, when the game launched, I didn't think anyone was going to ever give a fuck about my mobile game spending. I had already played games such as Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, Supercard, WWE Supercard, and others as well. And
listen to what he's saying. I didn't think people would care about me smoking crack. I had already taken heroin. I had been popping pills for the longest. I mean, that's essentially what he's saying. But in his mind, this makes what he's saying sound more edible. It's easier to digest in his mind.
Like, for me, it was like, who cares? Like, who would ever give a shit? I'd already publicly posted and talked about playing those games, spending money on them and shit, right? So I never in my wildest dreams thought that it would ever blow up in the way that it did. Okay? Fair enough.
See, Phil, there's a thing in the law known as degrees. Okay? So it's not always about what you do or what you did, but about the severity of it. I touched on this before. If you walk into a store right now and you stole a notebook, they're not going to treat it the same as if you walk into a bank and try to steal some money. Now they're both stealing, right? But one is far more severe. And so it'll be dealt with appropriately.
So what ended up happening was the game came out, 2017? And I barely played it that hardcore. Like the first year or so, I would say. It wasn't until the second year where the game actually got redesigned to be more serious of a game. And so then it kind of warranted more time, more spending, etc. Well, I played it for what? It came out in 2017. So I would say I played it for like 2.5 years. And I think about year 1 or 2, like a year in, 2 years in, it got, to the point where everyone wanted to form guilds and factions because big events were being based in the game around that. So that's when I joined my first faction. And I was, playing along with the faction. At the time, I was low. I wasn't, I didn't have a good account or anything. They were teaching me along the way on how to play the game and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And basically, I don't remember. The time frame is going to be completely wrong in my head. I can't tell you times of anything because I don't know, because I never tracked.
Now, this is important because we know timelines are everything, especially when you're talking about continuity as it pertains to a narrative. This is why the first thing detectives would do when they sit you down, even if the crime was committed at 7 p.m. that day, they'll ask you about what you did when you first opened your eyes. They'll say, tell me about your day. Where'd you wake up? Then what'd you do after that, right? Because you're trying to put something together chronologically. So him talking about he don't remember timelines and days and all that is already a red flag for deception.
Eventually, after being with this group for a while, I became one of the leaders of the faction. Okay? So, and then I was with them probably a year more. Okay? And of course, there's going to be there was Discord, chats and things like that. There never was an issue with any of this. Never. And then all of a sudden, somehow, someone had discovered that there was a WWE champion's name of my name. And I guess what it is someone who had played the game, knew how the accounts worked or whatever, and they did money. And they said, he spent thousands of dollars on the game, right? Based on some calculation that they had made.
No, it was based on their understanding of the game because they were playing it too. And I think it's funny how he talks about guilds and discords because Phil has always leaned into the parasocial. Always. So this is not something that's specific to his dents. This is what he does. This is who he is.
I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what it is because I don't watch my detractors shit. Okay? And I'm not here to tell you I didn't spend money on the game. I absolutely have spent money on WWE champions. Okay? A good amount of money on WWE champions over the years. I'm here to fess on this, right? This is the big moment, correct?
Now, again, I mentioned how much he was shaking, how his eyes are darting, how he's constantly moving his head around. He's tense in the shoulders. You can tell he's completely uncomfortable right now.
What ended up happening was basically my detractors, seeing that there was this name that said they call me DSP and had spent money in the game, went on this insane stalker spree, basically trying to get me like banned from the game. All right. What they found is that obviously the makers of the game don't care that I have haters online. They don't give two fucks. So the attempt to like get to the company and shit, no one cared, right? So at the end of
So, what it sounds like is the detractors were actually acting as an intervention for you. They were trying to stop this cycle of abuse that you were putting yourself through. And this is a theme throughout this because he never speaks about how anybody else stepped in and told him to stop or how he should change his ways. It was always the detractors trying to save him from himself, even if that was not what they were trying to do.
ended up doing is they started actually sending in clandestine people into the servers, like the Discord chat of the clan that I was in, the faction I was in, to join and then start tracking conversations, trying to get all this information. Eventually, what happened was, I guess, a detractor literally made shit up. They had made a fake Discord conversation between me and the actual guy who had like founded this faction I was in. That it was some weird. I can't even remember what it was, but basically, it was like a fake conversation between me and this person, saying that like he had agreed to do all kinds of favors and shit if I kept spending money on the game. Like it was a weird conversation, right? But basically, they doxed the guy. Like they put it on Kiwi Farm. All right. So because the guy had gotten doxed, now it had escalated. It's not just, oh, they're trying to talk to the company to get my account, kicked. They're not just having trolls join the server. They had doxed the leader of the faction I was in. And he confronted me about it. I'm like, dude, I have nothing to do with this. You know, it's messed up that it happened. I'm really sorry, but obviously I can't control these people.
No, you cannot control those people. I 100% agree with you. But there is a such thing as causation and chains of reactions. You constantly get on the internet and talk about how people are dumb and how they can't never figure this out, and you act like you're so smart. And all that does is cause people to want to dig more. Now, am I excusing people, doxing people? No, that's crazy. I mean, if you're ever doing something like that, in my opinion, you've gone way too far.
For what they're doing or whatever. And all along, I'm denying to the faction that I'm this streamer. I'm like, no, I'm not that streamer. That's not me. Okay. Well,
Now, you see this negative feedback loop he had himself in. He was lying to everybody, including himself. He was coming on stream telling his dents it was something else so he can get the money, only so he can go back to this faction and play God while also claiming he wasn't who he is. This man was living a double life in his spare bedroom. Crazy.
well, what ended up happening was, even though I had been in that faction for like 1-2 years, I don't remember the time frame again. I don't have that data. They kicked me from the faction. Okay, they outright just kicked me from the faction and said, "Fuck you, get out." Okay, so after kicking me from the faction, now I had already invested like 2 years into the game, and I didn't want all that time investment and money investment to go to waste. So I went around looking for other factions, and that's when you can see this TJ Gamebox or whatever, who says that I joined his faction.
See, Phil, you might not understand this because you're not in touch with things that go beyond the flesh. But what the universe was doing there was offering you a crossroads, an opportunity to step away from what was destroying you. But what did you decide to do? You double down. You immediately start seeking areas and avenues where you can continue to get your hits.
Right? And then all of a sudden, my trolls were following me around from faction to faction, joining the faction as well, just to track, information, to see how much money was being spent, to basically dox the other people in the faction. Okay? So I probably joined and got kicked out of 2, 3 different factions as a result of this. Okay?
See, all this to me is showing how many opportunities he had to really put this down. And he chose to pick it back up, and not only pick it up, but pick it up and run with it. This is why we don't feel sorry for you.
Now, basically, after all that happening, I was fed up. And I was like, I wonder, is there a way around this? Is there a way that I could just like protect my identity in the game? Well, the game doesn't let you change your name. All right. So I did actually at one point, I reached out to the people who ran the game and I said, is there a way we could change my name so that no one would know that I'm this person? And then they stop harassing everyone around me. Because listen, I want to keep playing your game. I've invested time and money into it, but I can't. Everywhere I go, these people are harassing and doxing everywhere I'm involved in. So the company, who owns the game, who makes the game, said, yeah.
Now, I want y'all to think about the particulars when it comes to this. They have something in place, the company, a policy where they don't allow people to change their names. So think about how much money he was spending for them to not only consider it, but to actually go through with it, because in their minds, DSP was an investment. So it was nothing for the company to allow him to get privileges that other people did not get, because they knew long term how much money they were going to make off this guy.
We can see if we can change your name or whatever. Okay? So I can't remember the exact specifics of how it all went down. All right? But to make a long story short, they are so dumb. All right? I explained to them, the timing of everything. Like, here's how you do it. What I will do is I will quit a faction that I'm in. All right? You change my name when I'm out of a faction. Now there's no way to track me because no one knows where I am. Then I could join a new faction. Okay? Great. They idiotically changed my name before the time we had agreed to. So everyone saw the name change. I was still in the faction. People were still tracking the account and they saw the name change. They fucked it up.
See, this is why you never help Phil. And this is why you never help people in general who are not willing to help themselves. They went out of their way to try to accommodate what he was doing, right? This is something that they do not do. Okay, they don't do this at all, but they're going to do it for Phil. All he had to do was leave the damn faction, but he wanted to play into the last day or to the last event to get everything he could out of it, and then he was going to leave. Phil, that's your fault, because you're constantly trying to bleed things dry. It's the reason why your whole Pokemon grift is starting to dry up already, because the second you think you strike gold, the first thing you do is try to wring all the damn water out of it. You don't even let it breathe. And I'm sure it was the same thing here.
All right? So at this point now, it's like, there's no way at all that I'm going to be able to play this game, because everywhere I go and everything I do, these people are going to be tracking it or whatever. So after a series of months kind of laying low, I think like a month or two, I didn't even have a faction. And then I tried to join a couple other factions, and they kept following me around these factions to harass and troll and shit like that. Eventually, I just gave up. And I said, I'm never going to be able to play this game ever again. But I've got a lot of shit invested in this game, okay? Now I'm going to...
Look, let me say this. When the universe, God, or whatever you want to call it, is trying to communicate with you, you need to listen. And one of the indicators that the creator is trying to speak to you is things being taken away from you. When things are removed out of your life, the distractions or the things that you think are important, all of a sudden your ears get a little bit bigger and you're more receptive to what people are trying to tell you. It's the reason why when you talk to cats who are locked up right now, they're so optimistic about what they're going to do when they get out, because now all of a sudden they don't have all these distractions and now their ears are bigger.
I'm going to leave it at that for now. We're going to go back to there. All right. Some of the things that my detractors have said over the years are outright lies. For example, that whole story about the Line app. Okay. That's false. I do Once I did register for Line app, okay? It had nothing to do with WWE Champions at all. All right? It actually had to do with, and why would I lie? Right? Right now, I'm literally already telling you this. So why would I lie about this part? Okay?
Now think about the irony of this statement, even though it's clearly lost on Phil. This is a guy who's known for lying, who's trying to clear up and confess about a long time lie, asking you, why would he lie? It's just so crazy, the shit that comes out of this dude's mouth sometime, man. It's crazy.
Okay? I never used Line app to play WWE Champions. The Line app account was because I had a potential sponsorship opportunity lined up. And basically, I found out basically when I started to research it, it was a scam. It was like a scam company who was going to fuck me basically somehow. But they wanted to communicate via Line app. Now, I actually don't know if like it was a detractor or something. I have no clue. All right. But
Well, you just said that you researched it and it was a company that was trying to run a scam on you, Phil. Now you're talking about it could have been a detractor. I'm going to bet that the line app was used to play WWE champions on the low, Phil. It's the same reason why a crackhead would go in an attic somewhere or in a vacant building to do their dirt. It's the same reason why a heroin addict will go into the bathroom, because there's intrinsic shame that comes with things that we know we're not supposed to be doing.
yeah, it was fucked. It was like really fucked. Yeah, and basically the Line app thing's bullshit. Okay? The Line app thing's complete bullshit. On top of that, a lot of the shit that was said about WWE champions was outright lies. Okay? So for example, my detractors would go out and be like, Phil spent $2,000, $3,000 in a weekend or whatever on WWE champions. It's completely wrong. They have no idea what they're talking about. Either they don't know how the game works or they're purposefully overinflating numbers. You know, there were weekends, this is back then, you know, we're talking years ago, where I spent a couple $100s in a weekend on the game. Admit that. They would say I spent $1,200. Where are you getting that information from?
You see this behavior a lot with addicts. They like to distance themselves and minimize their behavior to make it seem like that they are not the addict that you're traditionally thinking about when you think about an addict. When the truth is, that's exactly what it is. You're spending money on nothing. That's essentially what this is. You get nothing out of this. And now you don't even get the prestige or the bragging rights that come with it either. So what are you doing this for? Unless you're addicted.
Right? Again, they could be grossly exaggerating on purpose because they know there's no real way to verify this. If I say something, I'm publicly exposing myself, right? So it's bullshit. Every time they say that, oh, he spent this on the game, he spent that on the game, it's always wrong. In fact, what I can tell you is that in regards to the game, there are always ways to like score points in an event that's not spending. And a lot of
What's crazy about this is he just said that he doesn't pay attention to the things that detractors say. But then he went on to say that every time they say what he's doing, it's wrong. How would you know that if you're not paying attention to the things that we say? Oh my goodness.
of the times what it is, it's based on previous spending. So let's say last month you spent some money and you got one of the good characters, the new character, you could use them in the next month, right? To score in that event. But they're saying, oh, the only way that we know how much he spent is because it's based on like coin pulls. So he must have pulled this many coins or this many loot pulls to get this many points in the event. That's not how the game works. But they claim it is. But that's not how the game works at all. So they grossly have always over-exaggerated the spending that I've done in the game. Okay?
So why don't you just tell us how much you spent? See, and that's always been a point of contention. It's something that you will always hold close to your chest because even you are ashamed of it, which is part of the reason why you try to distance yourself from your obviously addictive behavior. You're disgusting, Phil, and you spent the better part of your adult life basically running your family name through the mud because you couldn't control yourself. Like, what do you say to your father when you speak to him? Seriously, because I know in the back of his mind, this is the things that he's thinking about, and you don't even have a grandson that you gave him that can eventually break the chain that you created. So he's just stuck. All that work he did for nothing.
Okay. Now, here's the part. Up to now, all right, all of this kind of makes sense, right? Because it's kind of what my detractors have always said, all right? Now I'm going to tell you the part of the story absolutely nobody fucking knows whatsoever.
Now listen to what he said. He said, now up until this point, this makes sense because it was what my detractors have always said. So you're basically saying that the detractors were right the entire time. Phil, that's all you had to say. We didn't need that first 10 minutes at all because we don't really believe you anyway.
As of today, I don't have any control or ownership of that account anymore. All right.
Now, you notice how he said, as of today? I want you to hold on to that.
I sold it. At the times when I was like desperate for money and shit was going down, I sold the account. All right. And you might say, well, how is that possible? Right. Well, you may not think it's possible because technically you shouldn't be able to sell an account. But I actually just alluded to this on a stream the other day. And I was wondering if anyone was going to pick up on this. But no one seems to have picked up on it.
Now, throughout this segment, his body language, the volume goes all the way up. He's completely uncomfortable here. And in my opinion, 100% of this is fabrication. And a lot of this is performative. Phil really, really, really wants you to believe him because the truth being told, he really wants this to be behind him. But he doesn't understand that there's a long road of him lying. So the road of redemption is going to be that much longer, Phil. That's always how it's worked.
Okay. So the reason I knew you could sell an account was because when I was really, on the original account, before I'd even changed my name, all right, there was another group in the game, and they were called, like, the Haven, all right? And they were one of the top factions in the game. And one of the leaders of the Haven was retiring from the game after, like, 2-3 years of playing it. And they announced this publicly, we're retiring or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, basically, he retires. He publicly announces he's retiring, yet his account is still active. It's still being used in events. People are fighting against this account in events. Like, wait a minute, the guy retired. He made a big public thing about it. So how the hell is his account still working? So
because he more than likely lied, just like you're doing right now and just like you've always done.
People knew that basically you could basically sell your account. Of course, there's no outright way to do it. So basically,
now pay attention to how he's speaking. He said basically like 3 or 4 times there. And what basically represents is all the details that we would actually need for this bullshit story to actually make sense. This is why he doesn't have anything to really tell you. Him saying basically is him essentially hitting the fast forward button.
What I did, I reached out and I found that there was a market for this. There's third-party resellers. And what you do is you can give them certain criteria and information about the game, login accounts and things that would give them ownership of the account. And you could give that to them for money. And I sold it. All right. That was a few years ago. So I have not had any control over this account for years.
No, he just said he sold it and that was years ago. But just 2 minutes ago when I brought it to your attention, he said, as of today. He can't even get his lies right. This is why I highlighted the point of continuity and presenting what happened chronologically and why that is so important. It gives us insight into what happened and when it happened. Because if we don't have those things, then all we have is your word. And we know we can't use that.
That was the single worst thing I could have done. Because what I should have done, I should have just closed the account. Because if I just closed the account, even though people would have accused me of this for years and years, endlessly moving forward, all right, it would have kind of went away, right? But instead, I was like, man, I put so much time and money into this, right? I don't want to, I want to get something out of it, and I sold it like an idiot. And I hate that I did it now because now I literally have no control over it at all. I can't show you, and like, for example.
So this is him basically saying, so if you see a whole bunch of spending and activity on that account, it's not me. Phil, you are a terrible liar. And it really is sad that you put this whole thing together only to double down on your lies because you think you're so damn clever. But these are elementary level lies, especially considering how much evidence people have to the contrary. It's like, bro, who the hell are you talking to?
People will show the account. I literally can't, and I haven't been able to for years because it's not my account anymore. I don't have ownership of it. I have nothing to show you to prove that, they'd call me DSP and then the names that change, that last name was down for the Raptors. I can't show you anything.
Look how convenient that is. We have no evidence to help support his claims. All we have is Phil's paper thin word. All the things that would have been a smoking gun to put these things to rest that he should have, right? He should have these things. He just doesn't have them. He don't know what happened to him, or he has nothing to show you. It's ridiculous.
Okay? You got morons in the chat, really morons in the chat. Show proof of sale. You really think right now I'm going to open up a PayPal account and show you anything? I'm going to open up a bank account and show you anything? You're an idiot. No one would believe it anyway. They just say I photoshopped it, or you know what I mean? I lied about this, I lied about that, right?
Well, in court, Phil, they have hard evidence, like actual evidence, and they also have testimony. And typically, to get a conviction, the evidence needs to corroborate the witness testimony or vice versa. It's very hard for you to get a conviction without evidence. And here's why this is crazy, because all this stuff should have an electronic paper trail, if you will. This is basically him going to his printer, printing things out, showing it to the stream, putting things to rest. He could have even used a third party like PPP, but DSP decided he was going to do it his way, hoping that we would believe him.
So it's this simple, all right? You can believe my story or you cannot, all right? Here's what I will tell you. I still have the game, all right? But I don't have it on that phone. I have it on my current phone. It's my personal account. That's a brand new account. Not brand new because I've been using it for a while. I've had this phone for a while.
Now you see how he's having thought confliction and things are just coming out. On one hand, he just got it. Oh no, he had it for a while. Now he's talking about his phone and how long he had that. He's all over the place.
But you guys didn't know that because I never told you. This is not an iPhone, all right? I've had this phone for a while. And this is what I do everything on now for the business. And I have some mobile games on here. It's my personal shit. And it's my right to own my own personal shit. And if I want to play games and stuff on it, I fucking can. All right?
Now, you see how that segment right there, that little piece right there made no sense? He basically talked himself into a corner and then used anger to get out of it. And what are the telltale signs that somebody is being deceptive? Is when they start giving you useless information that doesn't have anything to do with the subject matter. He's trying to make your eyes and ears look and point in different directions.
That's my right. So I haven't had that account on an iPhone for a while. You know what I'm saying? It sucks because every time people call me out and I'm like, well, maybe I could prove, I can't prove it. I don't own it. I have no ownership over it. I have no way to do anything. And just to let you guys know, all right, I have an iPad from ages and ages and ages ago, all right? It didn't work. Last night, I plugged it in and I charged it to 100%. I spent an hour trying to get back on the iPad. I got the iPad working. I said, holy shit, maybe if I use the old-ass information, I'll have a back door into the account. So I can bring it up tonight and show you guys on stream, here's the account. And it's not mine anymore, but here it is. Guess what? The iPad is so outdated, it doesn't run WWE Champions. You download the latest compatible version, and when you go to play it, the game just crashes endlessly.
I don't believe this at all because it makes no sense. He more than likely got on that iPad because he was having a nostalgia kick because everything was surrounded around his mobile game usage. In his mind, he was like, what are some of the older mobile games that I used to play? I'm sure he had a big old smile on his face, hoping that the iPad would work. He had no intention whatsoever of backdooring into some account so he can show you that it's not his account. And how would that even show us it's not your account if you can log into it? The hell is this guy talking about?
And it's not just that, it's every game. Like I tried to open WWE Supercard, that crashes too. Like every game fucking crashes. So I couldn't get anything. You know what I'm saying? I have no way to corroborate what I'm saying. But here's the thing. If everything I just admitted, right? If the account was not mine all along, why would I have just admitted what I just admitted to you? I'd have no incentive. I would just keep the story going that it's not my account. Okay? There was no reason for me to admit that. I'm admitting because it's the truth. It was my account. I did spend on it. The trolls harassed me out of the game. And after years of that, I was like, fuck this.
If you're admitting it because it's the truth, then why didn't you admit it a long time ago? Because it was always the truth. What happened was PPP pumped your chest up and he started making you believe that what you were doing was not that bad because it's quote unquote your money. And he offered you a bridge off of the island that you were on, but you didn't understand that the bridge was rigged. So the second you got into the middle of the bridge, he blew the bridge up, you fell into the water, and you doggy paddled back to your island. That's what happened, Phil. Because at this point in time, he's thinking what he has going with Kino Casino is going to keep going indefinitely, like he does with every other thing that happens to his channel. So he thinking I could just say something in passing, we'll just keep it moving, the money will keep rolling in, and in 2-3 years time, nobody will be talking about this.
I'm just going to sell it, and I got rid of it. And now I regret it because if I had just closed it, this whole saga would have been over years and years and years and years ago. But I fucked up. With that act of, I want to get something out of this or whatever, So I'm fessing up to all of you now. All right, that this is the truth of the matter. You don't have to believe me, and I know many of you won't, but that's the truth of the story. That really happened. Now,
no, Phil, we don't believe you. And to be honest, we have no incentive to believe you. In fact, I think it would be counterintuitive to believe somebody like you. What this represents is a guy who was dead set on hiding his addiction from the world. And when he was no longer able to hide it and it came to the forefront, then he set his focus on trying to minimize the severity of his problem. This guy has an addictive personality. If you ask me, when we come into the current timeline, he's 100% addicted to Pokemon. He is. And I hope that he keeps going hard on Pokemon and he unwillingly makes himself a Pokemon streamer, because if you've been paying attention, a lot of his gaming streams have not really been doing that well. But the Pokemon streams still do halfway decent. And it just goes to show you, it's just a handful of people propping this guy up and they dictate what you do, Phil. That's why it never made sense to me when he acts as if people are envious of him. It's like, bro, you have no agency. You can't pivot in your life even if you wanted to. You have to do this until you die. That is your fate for putting all that terrible karma out there. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.